Hi, welcome to Just a Cup on Bleav. I am Bryan Fetzer. This is an organic conversation among the world's greatest athletes, the coaches that help them get there, and a lot of others in between. Today, I have with me Kris Mack, who I've known Kris for a long time. And Kris is one of the coaches doing double duty with this Olympic, movement. He was over there in Paris for the regular Olympic Games, and then now he's over there for the Paralympic Games. Kris, welcome to the show. I'm excited to dive into a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it, Bryan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, Kris works for the USOPC down in Chula Vista, California, at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. And like I said, back making a double trip. I said you literally got off the plane coming back from Paris, got your body situated, and then headed back over for the Paralympics, which go from August 28th to September 8th. The U.S. has 225 athletes competing in the Paralympics. I started thinking about you as a coach, coaching what most people would think of as, normal, quote unquote, normal athletes, and then Paralympic athletes that have a whole range of disabilities, but they train like athletes.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I watch your videos. Hey, if you are not, what's your Instagram? Because you send out some videos that are amazing of training.
Yeah, it's just Coach K Mack.
Coach K Mack. So hey, you need to subscribe to Coach K Mack and watch some of these training videos. But what is it like, having to kind of shift mindset from, you had Harrison Williams, over in the decathlon in Paris. And then now, we'll talk about a bunch of the different Paralympic athletes, but what is that mindset difference going from one to the other from from an athlete standpoint?
Sure. Well, I would say it's, the exact same, like there's no difference than, when I come to practice. Harrison is practicing side by side with my Paralympians. So, they kind of feed off of each other. He's obviously got a little bit of some of that international experience, but on the other hand, so do a lot of my Paralympians. They're 2-time, 3-time Paralympians. It's not like all of them are their first go around. So I think they all bring something to the table during training. Harrison, obviously he's tall and he's got a lot of good top end speed, and where like my visually impaired sprinter Noah Malone, he's really good at acceleration, but we're trying to work on his, max velocity. So I like to pair those guys together. So Noah gets out of the blocks usually ahead of Harrison, and that's the part of Harrison's, training that I'm trying to improve. And then on the flip side, when we get upright, Noah's trying to keep up with Harrison as he, long legged kind of speeds away. So I think, nothing really changes with regards to the mindset of these athletes as they're getting ready for their specific, whether it's the Olympic Games, the Olympic trials, the Paralympic trials, the Paralympic Games. So many things are very, very similar amongst what they're going to go through, both physically and mentally, as they're trying to prepare. Because just like on the Olympic side, where once you get to the top, on a physicality side, everyone is fairly similar, right? Like they're just elite of elite. But like they usually say, to win those medals, sometimes it's that 1% in the mind game that determines who's wearing what on the podium, and maybe who fell off out of chasing for the podium. And I think that that's very similar even on the Paralympic side.
On the Paralympic side, when you think of the Paralympics, it is so wide ranging from the disability or what is, that differentiates one from another. Can you explain that a little bit? Because
Sure.
you mentioned you work with somebody with cerebral palsy, but at the same time you're working with somebody that's blind, or working with somebody that has an amputee of some sort. That is such a wide range of disabilities?
Sure. When it comes to the different classifications is what we call them for their disabilities. Basically the thing that the Paralympics does well is they make sure that you're competing with other people of the same classification. So, a below-knee amputee is going to compete against other below-knee amputees. They have records for that classification and stuff like that. So visually impaired, they have 3 different classifications ranging all the way from fully blind to basically like legally blind, where it's kind of like a Marla Runyon situation where it's like pinhole vision,
Right.
stuff like that. And then they all just have numbers that, over time people start to learn. Cerebral palsy, depending on, and so cerebral palsy typically is they had a stroke in utero, and so that affects their nervous system, and it can also affect a different number of limbs. And so depending on how many limbs are affected or the spasticity of movement, stuff like that, that's how you kind of get classified into your different classifications for cerebral palsy. So I work with, and in cerebral palsy, I work with people all the way from T35, which is the most effective, all the way up to a T38, where you only usually see it once they finish sprinting. That's when the spasticity and the stuff starts to lock up and stuff like that. When they're actually competing and running, it's I would say it's fairly hard to tell because they're still well-trained elite athletes. So you don't really see it when they're competing sometimes. You see it when they cross the line and they kind of relax. And then when they relax, they go spastic or, something locks up. And
Right.
so
When you start talking about,
it's not like lactic acid or booty lockup for an able body. This is, you can see the difference.
I mean, we were talking before we started the recording, I don't think some people understand how elite some of the athletes are that are competing. Like I said, I had David Blair on, a couple months ago on the show, and he's the world record holder in the discus, and he's a club foot, and he competed at Division I level in college. So clearly pretty high level. But the long jump that's going to be going on in Paris for MT64, make sure I say that right.
Yeah, T64.
T64. Yep. I would have recruited those guys in college. You're talking about somebody as an amputee jumping, 8 meters. Fill us in on that. That's just blows my mind, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the hot ticket events here in Paris. The men's T64 long jump, so that's below knee amputee, and they're going to be, it can be single or double below knee amputee. They all compete together, and yeah. So Marcus Rem from Germany is the world record holder, 8 meters 72, I believe is his mark. The guy hasn't been beaten in probably 8 years. It seems like. He's been on fire for a while. He was the only 8 meter jumper for a long time.
So just the American crowd that doesn't know what 8 meters is, how far is that in feet and inches?
This is how Euro and pace. I don't know how far 8 meters is in feet and inches. I think it's 26. I think it's 26. I don't know.
I was going to say, because I know it's good in meters because that's what track and field has been, my entire life. But feet and inches. Everybody. That was a question that everybody always would ask me. Well, how high is that? How far is that? I'm like, it's jumping over a car. I don't know. It's far. It's really far.
I don't know. Ask Google. It's probably 27 feet. I don't know. I'd have to work my way back.
That's crazy. Because if you think about what wins in high school, you're talking about 21 feet. You have a state champ that jumps 21 feet, 22 feet. And you're thinking about somebody that's several feet farther than that. That's impressive.
Yeah. No, they're it's amazing to watch. It's very acrobatic because all the guys jump off of their blade. I know a lot of people always, make comments like, oh, that's cheating, this and that. But this is their sport. It's very much kind of like the pole vault, each one of the jumping blades, it's made of carbon fiber. It has a flex rating, just like a pole vault pole does, based on your body weight. You can, so they're going to have, different properties to the material. And, however much energy you can put into that blade is how much you're going to get out of it, hopefully. But it's still a very technical event because you still have to be able to sprint with great speed, have great posture, and set up a takeoff, which is unique because it's not the same takeoff as an able-bodied long jump takeoff.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Just in my mind going through, the penultimate step and everything that would go through the long jump would look a lot different with somebody with an amputee.
Yeah. It's very much like if you were to take, the idea is generate speed, and then your body's basically like a rod. And at the end of that rod, you have, something that can compress, roll over, and release.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole job of those guys is to come in with as much speed, be as stiff as a body unit as possible so that they can compress and move over that blade, and it should release at the takeoff angle that they're looking for. So just like how a pole vault pole rolls over, like you can blow through one, it could be too stiff. There's a lot of things that go into these blades. And so, these guys, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out, what's the best setup for them to get the most out of it. And so, and so now, like I said, this long jump is going to be amazing because we now have two Americans that jump over 8 meters, and that's Derek Loxodon and Jared Wallace. So I coach Derek Loxodon and Dan Paff, amazing all-time coach in the U.S. multiple medals. He coaches Jared Wallace. So it's been a fun little battle, even just in the U.S. And even our third one, Trenton Merrill. He's a 770 long jumper as well. So it's just been a constant battle, and these guys go at it all the time. So there's constant competition in the U.S. And then when we come over to Europe, like yesterday at the Luzon Diamond League, they had a Paralympic long jump, and Trenton and Derek and Marcus were both there. And Marcus took an early lead. Derek was in second. Trenton was in third. But then in the third round, Derek sets a new American record at 8:05 and jumps into the lead. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That'd be amazing if we dethroned the champ right before the Paralympics. And he had him for 2 rounds. And then Marcus jumped 8:20 in the 5th and 6th round. And Derek just couldn't respond. But that's okay, because we'd rather do it here in Paris than at the Luzon Diamond League.
Absolutely.
But, I think it must have been really cool for the crowd there to see those guys jump that far, because nothing to take away from the Olympians who jumped in the Diamond League afterwards, but their winning mark was 8:06, and that was by the Greek jumper. So they got to see a lot of great jumping going on that runway right in front of the home crowd.
Well, Derek, his story is pretty unique because he had an amputee but ended up playing college football.
Yeah,
which is amazing in itself. He played at Central Oklahoma.
Yep, played at Central Oklahoma with a safety, and it was during maybe his junior or sophomore years when he had his train accident, and that's when he became an amputee. And then his football coaches really pushed him to train and come back, and he ended up getting to play a last season with them. And then it was once he was done that he didn't really know what to do, and he looked into track and field. He came to a development camp out at the training center, and I literally, as soon as I saw that kid, I called my boss and said, "Yeah, we need a spot for this kid in our residence program." It's like college recruiting. You just see somebody and you're just like, yes, please.
Oh, absolutely. In some way, I can imagine with the mentality makeup of a football player, it's a transition to learn an event or learn a sport.
Yeah, it was very, he still has a lot of football tendencies, I'm going to call him, but
Sure.
he had to learn how to run. He had a lot of backside mechanics, which is fine. I mean, you can get away with that, you know, when you got to stay low and change direction and all that. But, you know, we're in a sport where we need to be able to accelerate and transition and then get up tall, because that posture, whether it's in the 100 or in the long jump or in the high jump, or even the javelin, because he's doing all four of those here in Paris. He is like the multi of my Paralympic group. You know, it's like he had to learn all those things, and in a year and a half, when I saw him, you know, at the during that development camp, you know, he's now gone on. He's won, I think, 4 world championship medals already, and he's setting himself up to hopefully win himself a Paralympic medal.
So let me ask you this. The mental side of sports is, you know, bigger than most people think. Have you found there's a difference with the mental preparedness, or I'll use the term mental toughness, with some of the Paralympic athletes, since they've overcome one thing already, to fight through practice?
I mean, I think, you know, I think everybody in this world goes through something on some level. I mean, I think that everyone has that opportunity to develop that. And I think in these athletes' lives, that was one part of it. But, you know, depending on whether or not, you know, they were born that way or it happened later in life, you know, I think that all those experiences, from even if it's being bullied as a kid because you walk different because you have cerebral palsy, or you are, I have another athlete, Beatrice, who was born missing a limb. So she's still in the amputee category, but, you know, she was born that way. So she grew up basically wanting to hide the fact that she was missing a leg. You know, she never wore shorts. She only wore jeans or sweats, and she did everything she could to mask that. And now, as she has begun to embrace what Paralympic sport has done for her, you know, wearing shorts, you know, letting the graphite like shine so that everyone can see what I think is the splendor and the beauty of you know, Paralympic sport, being an amputee. I think there's great things for everybody that I work with. I love the stories that that companies have come and told of, you know, the seasons of, you know, mental health for some of my cerebral palsy athletes. You know, Jaylene Roberts just had a short video or movie that was made on her about the struggles that she went through COVID, and, you know, and the things that she had to overcome in order to go to her first Paralympic Games, which was the Tokyo ones, and end up winning a medal there. And you know, the Oklahoma City Thunder, because that's where Derek is from, they put out a short movie on him called Steps that went through kind of his whole. So I think there's a lot to these athletes' lives, and it all of these things that are told about them, you know, really dives into their personalities, their character, their ability to, yes, overcome, but also to thrive in their environments. And as I say, survive. I also coach 2 athletes that they met on Survivor CBS season 43. So Noel Lambert, my above knee amputee, and then Ryan Madrano, a T38. He's a cerebral palsy. They actually met on Survivor CBS, where they were finalists. And so, like, you know, it's just amazing to hear, to watch their stories, and just kind of see them progress.
Right.
You know, Noelle was a Division I lacrosse player before she had her accident where she lost her leg. Again, just like Derek, got to overcome that, come back, play a season of lacrosse. Then she took up track and field, made the Tokyo Olympics in just the 100 meters. And being a track coach like me, I was like, well, she's one of our fastest above knee amputees. Why aren't you long jumping? So she went out. That's right. So she moved out to the center this year, and I started teaching her to long jump in January. And now she is one of 3 females in the world that's ever jumped over 5 meters as an above knee amputee. So, they just, I don't know. It's just fun to watch them like learn. I like to see it's the same as the able bodies. It's the same as a high school kid that first learns something. It's the same as that college athlete that finally picks up that technique that you've been working maybe a year on, and then they get to become a conference champion or an NCAA All-American. I don't really see a difference when I'm out there. Like, I enjoy coaching at all levels. I like coaching my own children how to throw the discus to Olympians. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, show me like that you have passion. Show me that you want to learn something, and show me that you find joy in learning, and you have all my attention, you have all my energy. It doesn't matter how tired I am or how jet lagged I am. We're gonna figure it out.